Hi folks, this is a little tip for some of my painter friends out there. All of us are at different points in our journey trying to learn how to do this well. And so I figure if there's something that I know that might be helpful to somebody else, why not pass it along? So one of the things that I notice sometimes when I'm teaching classes is that sometimes some of the students will get to a point where they're not sure what they're supposed to be doing or how to solve a particular problem, and I'll walk up and ask them, so what you working on, and they'll say, I don't know, or oh, good question, and usually it's when I've seen them, they're starting to make these little dabbing marks that don't have any conviction to them, and usually what's happened is that they've been sitting there painting for 45 minutes or an hour or whatever, and they've kind of momentarily at least intellectually disengaged. And what happens is, well, two things. Either they've disengaged and they don't even realize that they're doing this little, mindless dabbing of paint, or they don't know how to solve a particular problem. And so they'll either start guessing, oh, let me try some of this. Oh, that didn't work, wrong value. Let me try some of that. Oh, wrong color. Or a different type of stroke maybe will be. They start guessing instead of focusing on what might be the problem, how can I fix it? Like asking specific questions, right? And so what I'm getting at is, instead of dabbing or falling back to something that that's a bad, an old habit that doesn't work, but it, and that's something we do too sometimes. Even if we know something doesn't work, at least we're familiar with it, so we kind of fall back to that. Well, it's not going to help the painting. So what I'm suggesting today is two things. First, make everything, every stroke that you put down, do it with intent. Don't guess, don't do it mindlessly. Ask yourself, why am I about to do this? What purpose is it going to serve? And then if it doesn't work, that's fine. You can restate it if you need to, but don't do it mindlessly. Do everything you do with intent. That's number one. Number two, paint every square inch of the painting as well as you can paint it. Now that sounds kind of obvious perhaps, but a lot of times, especially if you're working on a larger piece, you can get tired, mentally tired, and you disengage a little bit. Next thing you know, you're putting some sloppy strokes somewhere that, they're not going to serve the painting really well. Or conversely, you might start painting everything exactly as you see it instead of thinking artistically and saying to yourself, well, this part of the painting is off in the periphery. I don't want to put a lot of definition there. I should abstract that more so that the viewer's eye doesn't get stuck there. You got to think about what part every piece of the painting is playing. In other words, is the foreground just a supporting element? Behind me, I've got a painting from Canyonlands, and this foreground, it's a supporting element, right? The main interest in the painting is up here in the rocks. So I don't want to paint too much detail down here and get the viewer's eye stuck in there. We have to think through these things. If the foreground is a supporting element, we don't want to put too much detail, too much interest there. We want to reserve that for the part of the painting where we want the viewer to end up. So, again, to reiterate, do everything you do with intent. Don't do it mindlessly, don't disengage. And if you find yourself doing those little mindless dabs of paint instead of direct strokes that mean something, put the brush down. Go get something to drink, have a little snack. If you're painting with other painters out in the field, go visit, see how they're doing. Anything to let your brain relax for a few minutes. And then once you've done that, you can come back, assess your work, ask specific questions. By the way, here's a hint. If there's something wrong, it's usually the value relationships. Keep that in mind. But by then you can come back, your mind is refreshed, you can then focus again and start asking those specific questions. How do I solve this particular problem? And then you do it with intent. Then of course, like I said, the other thing is paint every square inch of the painting as well as you can paint it. Now mind you, as well as you can paint it now is going to be different from as well as you can paint it 5 years from now. And when I say paint it as well as you can paint it, that sometimes people think that means, put a lot of detail into it, make it look hyper realistic. That's not what I'm saying. Sometimes the best way you can paint something, or at least a passage in the painting, is to keep it very loose and abstract. so as not to garner too much attention in that spot, you know, if it's a peripheral area of the painting. So sometimes to paint it as well as it can be painted means to do it very loosely without a lot of information, a lot of detail. Sometimes it does mean sharper edges, higher contrast, more detail. You have to assess where you are in the painting, what purpose that particular area of the painting is serving, and then how can you reach the goal of helping it achieve the purpose that you want it to achieve. So think it through. And if you find that you're mental, you know, because mental fatigue is a real thing. And, you know, there's Brian Mark Taylor has a video called The Master's Mind, I think it is. And he talks about the process of chunking, where we learn best by, you know, intense, focused effort for maybe 15 to 20 minutes at a time, and then disengaging for a few minutes so that our brain can refresh, rather than staring at the canvas for an hour and a half, 2 hours without breaking. You can get intellectual fatigue or mental fatigue. So if you find that happening, break away, take a break, refresh your brain, come back, ask specific questions. You're probably going to find that the answers come to you easier, and you'll waste a lot less time trying things that don't work. You don't want to guess. I don't know, personally, I put too much time into learning how to do this, and I'm sure a lot of you have too, to want to leave it to chance. So there's my tip for today. I hope it's helpful. If any of you find that when these little tips are helpful and you'd like to have more of them, keep in mind that I am teaching both in person in Southern California and also online from my studio. If you're interested in any of that, let me know. Send me a message through Facebook, or you can go to my website, richgallego.com. That's RICHGALLEGO.com. You can send me an email through that. Just hit contact the artist and let me know you're interested. I'll get in touch with you and we'll figure something out. Okay, folks, have a blessed day. Bye-bye.